The tense political landscape of the Middle East erupted into open conflict on June 12, 2025, when Israel launched a significant military operation against Iran, codenamed Rising Lion. This bold and preemptive action was aimed at dismantling Iran's nuclear program, which Israel has long viewed as an existential threat to its national security. The initial strikes targeted key nuclear facilities, ballistic missile sites, and even the upper echelons of Iran's military leadership. The operation immediately sent shockwaves across the globe, raising urgent questions about regional stability, the future of nuclear non-proliferation, and the intricate web of international alliances that define this volatile part of the world. The world now watches, holding its breath to see how this dangerous new chapter unfolds. The conflict escalated rapidly from its outset. Within days, Israeli forces had reportedly managed to neutralize a substantial portion of Iran's military command structure and inflicted significant damage on its nuclear infrastructure. The operation also included targeted attacks on top Iranian nuclear scientists, a move clearly designed to cripple the program's intellectual foundation for years to come. The human cost has been stark, with reports indicating hundreds of casualties within Iran. This aggressive strategy underscores the gravity with which Israel perceives the Iranian nuclear threat, choosing direct military confrontation over diplomatic patience, a decision that has fundamentally altered the strategic calculus for all involved parties in the region and beyond. In response to the Israeli offensive, Iran did not hesitate to retaliate, launching a barrage of missiles aimed at major Israeli population centers including Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. These counterstrikes brought the reality of the war directly to Israeli civilians, with at least 24 fatalities reported. This cycle of attack and counterattack has created a perilous situation, threatening to spiral into a much broader and more devastating regional war. The immediate military exchanges between the two nations have shattered any semblance of calm, replacing it with the grim reality of daily air raid sirens and the constant fear of further escalation from either side of the conflict. The timing of Israel's operation is particularly noteworthy, as it coincides with ongoing, delicate nuclear negotiations between the United States and Iran. President Donald Trump has publicly suggested that Israel's military action might paradoxically create leverage, potentially pressuring Tehran into accepting a more stringent deal to end the conflict and save its nuclear program from complete destruction. However, this high-stakes gamble carries immense risks. The attacks could just as easily cause the diplomatic talks to collapse entirely, leaving the region on the brink of a wider conflict that could draw in other nations and have profound consequences for global energy markets and international security for the foreseeable future. A central drama within this escalating conflict revolves around Israel's formal request for direct American military assistance. Israeli leaders have made it clear that while their initial strikes have been effective, their military lacks the specific capabilities required to achieve the operation's ultimate objective, the complete destruction of Iran's nuclear program. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government has specifically pointed to the Fordow uranium enrichment facility as the primary obstacle. Built deep inside a mountain, this hardened site is impervious to the conventional munitions in Israel's arsenal. To successfully neutralize it, Israel has asserted that it needs the United States' powerful bunker-buster bombs and the long-range bomber aircraft capable of deploying them effectively. The request for American firepower has been articulated publicly and with a sense of urgency by Israeli officials. Yechiel Leiter, Israel's ambassador to the United States, has emphasized that the long-term success of Rising Lion is entirely contingent on eliminating the threat posed by the Fordow facility. Without American intervention to destroy this key site, Israel argues that Iran could eventually rebuild its nuclear program from the remnants, rendering the entire costly and dangerous operation a temporary setback rather than a permanent solution. This public appeal places the Trump administration in a very difficult diplomatic and strategic position, forcing it to weigh its commitment to its closest Middle Eastern ally against the risks of direct involvement. In response to these direct and public requests, the official stance from the Trump administration has been one of resolute refusal to join the fighting. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has characterized the Israeli attack as a unilateral action, carefully distancing the United States from the decision to initiate hostilities. Senior White House officials have repeatedly briefed the media, stating unequivocally that the United States is not currently considering direct participation in the strikes and has communicated this position clearly to the Israeli government. The administration's stated priority, according to these officials, is the protection and security of American military personnel and assets stationed throughout the volatile Middle East region. This public posture of non-involvement is a critical component of the White House's strategy to manage the crisis. By officially denying any role in the operation, the administration aims to contain the conflict and avoid being dragged directly into a war with Iran. This position allows the United States to maintain a degree of diplomatic flexibility and act as a potential mediator, while also attempting to shield itself from direct Iranian retaliation. However, this official denial is being heavily scrutinized both at home and abroad, as many observers question whether the United States can truly remain a bystander in a conflict of this magnitude involving its most important regional partner. Despite the Trump administration's firm public denials of any direct military role, a growing body of reports from credible media outlets suggests a far more complex reality unfolding behind the scenes. Multiple sources, including unnamed United States officials, have indicated that there was significant coordination between Washington and Jerusalem in the lead-up to the attack. According to these reports, the United States did not merely stand by, but actively worked to shape the parameters of Israel's operation. This has led to widespread speculation that the White House, while stopping short of direct participation, provided a tacit green light for Israel to proceed with its military campaign against the Iranian nuclear program. One of the most striking claims to emerge is that the United States intervened to moderate Israel's operational plans. It has been reported that an initial Israeli proposal included the assassination of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. American officials allegedly rejected this part of the plan, viewing it as an unnecessary and extreme escalation that would guarantee a massive, uncontrollable regional war. This reported intervention suggests a level of American involvement that goes far beyond simple foreknowledge, indicating a deep and active role in shaping the strategic contours of the conflict to align with United States interests and avoid the worst-case scenarios of an all-out war. Further complicating the official narrative of non-involvement are public statements from President Trump himself. On his Truth Social platform, the president seemed to confirm his advanced knowledge of the operation. He issued a direct warning to Iran to make a deal, while also alluding to even more brutal attacks that were being planned, a statement that strongly implies he was privy to detailed Israeli operational plans. This public acknowledgement has fueled analysis from experts like Trita Parsi of the Quincy Institute, who stated there was clearly coordination and some form of a green light, challenging the White House's official denials and painting a picture of calculated ambiguity. This divergence between public statements and behind-the-scenes maneuvering creates a highly volatile and unpredictable environment. While the United States government officially maintains its distance, the perception of American complicity is growing, particularly in Tehran. This two-track approach, public denial mixed with private coordination, is a high-risk strategy. It is designed to allow the United States to support its allies' objectives while avoiding direct accountability, but it also risks miscalculation and could ultimately fail to prevent the very escalation it is intended to control, leaving the United States dangerously exposed to the consequences of a conflict it helped enable. Iran's reaction to the Israeli operation has been swift and furious, not only against Israel but also directed squarely at the United States. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has publicly declared that his government possesses solid evidence of American support for the attacks. He has argued that an operation of this scale and complexity could not have been carried out without coordination with and approval of the United States. Consequently, Tehran has officially stated that it holds the United States equally responsible for the aggression and has vowed to retaliate against American interests, dramatically raising the stakes and expanding the geographic scope of the potential conflict. The accusations from Tehran place the United States in an incredibly precarious position. Thousands of American troops and personnel are stationed at bases across the Middle East, all of which are now potential targets for Iranian retaliation. The Trump administration is therefore forced into a difficult balancing act, preparing for potential attacks on United States forces while simultaneously attempting to de-escalate the situation through diplomatic channels. The safety of these American forces has become a paramount concern, influencing every decision made in Washington as the crisis deepens, and the threat of a direct confrontation between the United States and Iran looms larger than ever before. This conflict carries profound implications that extend far beyond the immediate belligerents. The stability of the entire global order is at risk. A wider war in the Middle East could severely disrupt global energy supplies, sending oil prices soaring and potentially triggering a worldwide economic recession. Furthermore, the open warfare undermines the entire international framework for nuclear non-proliferation. If diplomacy is seen to have failed so spectacularly, it could encourage other nations to pursue their own nuclear weapons for self-defense, leading to a new and far more dangerous era of atomic proliferation and instability across the globe. Ultimately, the crisis forces the United States and its allies to confront a series of difficult and unenviable choices. The Trump administration must navigate the narrow path between supporting its key ally, Israel, and preventing a catastrophic regional war that could entangle American forces. The decisions made in Washington, Jerusalem, and Tehran in the coming days and weeks will determine whether this conflict can be contained or if it will spiral into a devastating confrontation with lasting consequences for the Middle East and the entire world. The path forward is fraught with danger, and the margin for error is vanishingly small.